What if I told you the real thing holding you back from awakening has nothing to do with karma, planets, or how aligned your chakras are? What if the real block is not outside us, but something hiding inside of you, so familiar, so quiet, that you forgot it was even there? Maybe you felt it. That strange weight in the chest. That resistance that shows up when you're about to make a change. That voice that whispers, "Not now, not you, not yet." You've done the meditations. You've read the books. You've chased healing like a full-time job. But something still doesn't shift. Something is still in the way. It's like trying to drive with the parking brake on. Like moving through fog and not even knowing you're surrounded by it. They told you to seek answers in rituals, in teachers, in techniques, but nobody told you to look for the invisible wall inside, the one made of old beliefs, inherited fears, and emotional survival codes. A veil, not outside, but within. And here's the truth no one likes to admit. That veil, it's not punishment, it's not a curse, it's a program designed to keep you safe, but ends up keeping you stuck. It's like tuning an old radio and only hearing static between stations. You think something's wrong with the signal, but really, the problem is that you've never tuned to your own true frequency. This veil is not some poetic metaphor, it's neurobiological, it's emotional, it's energetic. Bruce Lipton calls it subconscious imprinting. Joe Dispenza explains how your body memorizes emotions and keeps you looping in what's familiar. And ancient mystics, they called it the final illusion before awakening. But even with all this knowledge, most people stay trapped. Not because they're broken, but because they've been taught to fight the illusion instead of dissolving the veil. And here's where it gets even more painful. The more you try to fix what's on the outside, the thicker the veil becomes inside. Because every time you seek externally for what's meant to be unveiled internally, you reinforce the lie that you're not already enough, that you're not already home. In this video, we're not chasing light, we're removing what blocks it, we're not adding more. We're unlearning what never belonged to you in the first place. Stay with me, because in the next minutes we're going to explore deeply and practically what this inner veil really is, how it formed, and how to begin dissolving it through real, grounded, embodied awareness. You'll discover why even your highest spiritual beliefs might still be part of the illusion, and how to finally feel what's underneath. This isn't about more doing, it's about undoing. If this theme speaks to something deep inside you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel now and walk with me through this remembering. Your truth has been waiting. Let's uncover it together. The invisible filter that alters everything you see. You think you're seeing reality, but what you're really seeing is a version of it, shaped, filtered, and sculpted by everything you were told to believe. Before your conscious mind ever gets a chance to process the world, your nervous system has already decided what's safe, what's real, what's you. Over 99% of what happens around you never even reaches your awareness. It's filtered out, discarded, coded as irrelevant based on past pain, old roles, and learned expectations. It's not your eyes that are blind. It's the lens they've been trained to see through. This lens, this veil, is built silently. You didn't create it consciously. It was built for you. Through every "be a good girl, men don't cry, that's just how life is," a new layer formed. Through every inherited belief, every story passed down at the dinner table, every unhealed trauma your body absorbed, the veil thickened, until one day it stopped being a veil and became your identity. Let me give you an image. Imagine walking through a house of mirrors, but thinking it's a window to the world. Every time you look, you're not seeing life as it is. You're seeing your own distortion, Your reflection shaped by fear, guilt, shame, or survival instincts. You see rejection where there's neutrality. You hear criticism where there was silence. You feel attacked, when really you're just touching an old scar. But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? Even the most well-meaning spiritual ideas can become part of the veil. Beliefs like, you must suffer to evolve, or the universe only tests the strong, can keep you trapped, not awakened. Because even when the story sounds sacred, if it's built on fear, it still binds you. Here's the process. First, your nervous system experiences a trigger, maybe subtle, maybe loud. Second, it scans your inner database. What happened last time this feeling came up? What did I do to survive it? Third, it delivers a filtered perception, not based on the now, but based on before. Let's go deeper. Trauma isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's a parent's disapproval. Sometimes it's growing up in a home where nobody asked how you felt. Sometimes it's having to smile when your heart was breaking. And those micro wounds, they don't fade. They code your lens. You don't just inherit your grandmother's eyes, you inherit her fears, her mistrust, her guilt, her unconscious vows. And now, you walk through life, filtering love through abandonment, success through unworthiness, silence through fear of invisibility. You've seen it before, you just didn't know how to read it. This is what we mean when we say the veil is real. It's not symbolic, it's neurological, it's emotional, it's energetic. Your entire experience is filtered by past programming that your body, not your mind, remembers. And until you see the filter, you cannot see the truth. Now, in the next section, we'll go even deeper. We'll explore why this veil isn't just emotional, but biologically embedded in your system. We'll look at how your body memorizes pain as safety and why thinking alone can't set you free. We're about to dissolve one of the biggest illusions of all, the myth that awareness lives only in the mind. But before we go on, take a breath. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your own presence beyond the story. And if you've felt something stir inside you during this moment, write one word in the comments. One word that captures what this realization means to you right now. Maybe it's clarity, maybe it's remembrance, maybe it's release. Let your energy speak. The inner veil is not a metaphor, it's a neurobiological trap. We tend to imagine healing as something ethereal, a mental breakthrough, a cosmic realization, a flash of insight from above. But the veil that holds you back doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your body. You've heard the phrase, the body keeps the score. What they don't always say is, it also keeps the veil. Joe Dispenza explains that your body becomes addicted to familiar emotions, even if those emotions are painful, meaning your nervous system is more comfortable in sadness, anger, or control than in the unknown frequency of peace. Because peace, for many, feels unsafe. It's too still, too unfamiliar. And so the body pulls you back into the emotional baseline it knows. This is how the veil sustains itself, not in your beliefs, but in your reactions, in the tightening of your chest when someone gets too close, in the need to over-explain when silence would have been enough, in the way your breath shortens just when you're about to speak your truth. Let me explain. Your brain, in an effort to keep you efficient and safe, creates neural shortcuts, like grooves in a record. These grooves become pathways of interpretation. A certain look from someone triggers the same cascade of reactions you had at 12. A tone of voice brings you back to a moment you barely remember. You're not responding to the present, you're reliving the past, automatically, invisibly. The veil is not an idea, it's a full-body experience. And here's the paradox. The more spiritual we become, the more we try to escape the body. We chase transcendence. We want to rise above the pain. But every time we try to bypass the body to reach the soul, we miss the gate. Because the body is the gate. You can't meditate your way out of the veil if you're afraid to feel what your body has been carrying. You can't positive think your way to freedom if your cells are still vibrating with suppressed memory. Pause for a moment. What part of your body reacts first when you're overwhelmed? The throat, the chest, the gut? These are not just stress responses. They're entry points, clues. The veil speaks in sensation long before it speaks in words. And maybe now you're starting to see why the old methods didn't work, why the affirmations didn't stick, why you kept going back to the same patterns even when you knew better. Because it's not about knowing, it's about integrating. It's about learning to feel, not fear, the frequency that your body holds. And if the idea of feeling to heal sounds too vague, stay with me. Because in the next section, we'll explore a real human story, one that might sound a little like yours. A story of someone who looked awakened on the outside, but felt trapped within. You'll see how the veil hides in the smallest moments, and what it takes to begin dissolving it. But before we continue, let me ask you, if you could choose just one word, one energy, to anchor this moment, what would it be? Maybe it's permission, maybe it's courage, maybe it's stillness. Let it rise. And if it feels right, write it in the comments. Your word might be the echo someone else needs to hear. The comfort of illusion. Why the ego resists truth. Truth sounds beautiful until it threatens the identity you've spent a lifetime building. Because waking up isn't just about realizing something new, it's about letting go of who you thought you were. And that is terrifying. The veil doesn't just protect you from pain, it protects your ego, your patterns, your roles, your stories. It says, this is who you are, this is how you survive, don't change it. Even if those stories keep you small, even if they keep you suffering. Let me tell you a story. Her name is Rachel. She's 47, works in HR for a mid-sized company in Ohio. 2 grown kids, divorced for 6 years. On paper, everything looks okay, stable, functional. But every night, just before sleep, something aches. Not loudly, quietly, like a hum under her skin. It's not depression, not anxiety. Just a constant sense that something's missing. She's done therapy, yoga, even a few online courses on energy healing. She journals. She says affirmations. She lights candles with intention. She means it. But something doesn't shift. In relationships, she gives more than she receives and tells herself it's because she's strong. At work, she swallows her truth to avoid conflict and calls it professionalism. In friendships, she's always the one holding space, but when she needs someone, she isolates. She doesn't feel seen, but she doesn't know how to be seen without feeling exposed. The truth is, Rachel's veil is made of stories like, I don't want to be a burden, people leave when I'm too much, peace is selfish, my needs are less important. She says she wants to be free, but freedom means stepping into the unknown. And the unknown doesn't guarantee applause, approval, or control. So she clings to the comfort of illusion, not because she's weak, but because she's human. And maybe you know a Rachel, or maybe some part of you is Rachel. This is what makes the veil so powerful. It wraps itself around your coping mechanisms. It whispers, don't let go, you won't survive without this. And because that voice sounds like you believe it. Here's the paradox. We say we want truth, but the ego wants predictability. It wants to know what to expect. It wants rules, roles, boxes to fit in. Truth doesn't offer that. Truth asks you to die, to who you were, to what you thought, to everything that once felt safe. Removing the veil is not just about insight, it's about loss. The loss of old identities, of familiar wounds, of the stories that made you feel in control, even if they hurt you. And that's why people run back into the illusion, not because they're asleep, but because it feels familiar, and familiar feels safe. But what if safety isn't comfort, but clarity? What if your nervous system doesn't need control, but coherence? Let me give you a practice. Notice the moment when you feel resistance. Not the loud, dramatic kind, the subtle one. The hesitation to speak, the need to explain, the smile you put on when something inside you contracts. Pause, breathe. Let your body show you where the veil lives. Because in that moment, when you resist truth, you are touching the edge of your old self. Let's go even deeper. We'll uncover how even those who consider themselves awakened, practitioners, healers, teachers, might still be trapped behind the veil. You'll learn to recognize the signs that the program is still running. Even if your spiritual life seems complete on the surface, we're going to bring the unseen into light. Signs that your inner veil is still active, even if you're awakened. It's easy to believe the veil disappears the moment you wake up. That after a few spiritual breakthroughs, some meditation retreats, or years of practice, you're finally free. But the inner veil is clever. It evolves with you. It doesn't just wear the mask of trauma anymore. It wears the robes of spiritual identity. You may chant mantras and still reject your own silence. You may teach others how to surrender and still resist your own emotions. You may post about love and light while avoiding the dark corners of your truth. Here's the thing. The veil doesn't need you to be asleep. It just needs you to keep performing. Let me give you examples. You repeat emotional patterns, different people, same pain. You keep attracting situations that trigger the same wound. Abandonment, betrayal, invisibility. You think it's the world testing you, but it's your own frequency asking to be seen. Or you meditate every day, but still feel numb. You know how to observe your thoughts, but not how to connect with your body. You've mastered detachment, but forgot how to feel. Another sign, you crave validation for your spiritual growth. You want others to see how evolved you are, how much shadow work you've done, how much light you're holding. But the moment no one sees you, you collapse. The veil feeds on that. Maybe peace feels boring, unsafe. You finally reach a place of calm, and something in you sabotages it. Starts a fight, creates chaos, distracts itself with noise. Because your system isn't wired for peace, it's wired for survival, and survival needs something to fight. Stillness is the greatest threat to the veil, because in silence, it's exposed, and that's why most people unconsciously avoid it. They'll fill the space with words, tasks, even spiritual practices, anything to not be alone with what's underneath. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in absolute stillness, not to achieve anything, but just to be? And what showed up in that space? A tightness, a sadness, a flood of thoughts. That's the veil revealing itself. You're not broken. You're just layered, covered, programmed. You are stillness itself. You've just been taught to fear it. Now stay with me, because what comes next is one of the most powerful bridges between ancient wisdom and practical transformation. In the next chapter, we'll return to forgotten teachings, from mystics, ancient texts, and hidden truths that speak directly about the veil. You'll see that this isn't a new idea, but a sacred one that's been whispered across centuries. And you'll begin to remember ancient clues and forgotten teachings about the veil. Long before psychology named it projection, long before neuroscience spoke of pattern recognition, the ancients were already describing the veil. They didn't call it trauma. They called it illusion. The Gnostics believed that the final barrier between the soul and liberation was not the external world, but the internal veil. They described it as a false identity created by layers of distortion, conditioning, and fear. The last illusion before you remember who you truly are. They taught that awakening wasn't about adding more knowledge. It was about peeling away what was never yours. You've seen this teaching too, hidden in sacred texts, often in plain sight. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the soul passes through gates not of punishment, but of perception. The real test was whether you could see beyond appearances, whether you remembered the essence beneath the form. The veil was the final gate. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, spoke of soul blindness, a forgetting that we chose to experience not as punishment, but as part of evolution. According to him, we agreed to wear the veil, so that rediscovering the truth would become an act of conscious remembrance. In Buddhism and Hinduism, the concept of Maya is central. Maya is the illusion of separation, of ego, of the material world as ultimate. It's not evil, it's a veil, a test, a teacher. But here's what most people miss. Ancient teachings were never meant to be worshipped. They were meant to be lived. You don't need to read hieroglyphs or memorize mantras to understand the veil. You see it in your life every day. Let me show you how. Every time you say yes when your body screams no, that's the veil. Every time you pretend to be okay to avoid making someone uncomfortable, that's the veil. Every time you believe your worth depends on how useful, attractive, enlightened, or productive you are, that's the veil whispering old stories into your now. You've seen it before, you just didn't know how to read it. These ancient symbols, the Eye of Horus, the lotus flower, the spiral, they're not decorations. They're maps. They point inward. They remind you that what seems hidden was always inside. And if you're wondering why this isn't taught more openly, there's a reason. In the next section, we'll explore that very silence. Why so many spiritual paths avoid speaking of the veil directly. Why most systems keep you chasing knowledge instead of remembering your truth. You'll understand why this topic makes people uncomfortable and why facing it is the greatest act of inner freedom. But before we continue, thank you for being here, for staying this far. This isn't light entertainment, it's soul work. Take a breath. And if you felt seen in any part of this journey, let us know. Share in the comments. Have you ever experienced something like the story we shared earlier, or recognized a veil in your life you once called truth? Your voice might be the reflection someone else needs to hear. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. This is a space where we dissolve illusions together. And the next chapters, they go even deeper. We're not done. A 3-step inner ritual to begin dissolving the veil. The veil isn't removed by force. You don't rip it off like a mask. You melt it through awareness, tenderness, and presence. The veil doesn't fear your power, it fears your attention. Here's the process. Not a method to fix yourself, but a ritual to return. Step 1. Awareness without judgment. This is not about analyzing your emotions. It's about noticing them, like you would notice a sunrise, silently, reverently. Next time you feel a reaction, tightness, irritation, withdrawal, don't label it as good or bad. Just notice it, pause for a moment. What's the sensation? Where is it in your body? Is it sharp, heavy, warm, electric? Breathe into that place. Don't try to make it go away. The moment you stop fighting the feeling, it starts to speak, because the veil doesn't dissolve in resistance. It dissolves in presence. Step 2. Emotional inquiry. Now ask, softly, without expectation, what belief lives under this feeling? Not what someone told you to think, but what your body has come to believe. Maybe it's I don't matter. Maybe it's love leaves. Maybe it's if I'm seen, I'll be judged. Don't censor. Just listen, then write it down. Witness it on paper. This is not journaling for performance. This is soul transcription. This is you translating your emotional frequency into language your mind can understand. Don't fight the belief, just name it. Naming weakens the veil's hold. Step 3, embodied replacement. Now, feel into your body a different emotional frequency, not as an idea, as a sensation. Maybe it's calm or trust or worthiness. Close your eyes. Let that frequency spread, not just in your chest, but in your breath, your arms, your legs. Imagine your cells rearranging to hold this new vibration. Now move with it. Sway, rock, stretch, hum. Let your body express this new signature, because the veil is not mental, it's vibrational. And to shift frequency, you need ritual. Music helps. Rhythm helps, breath helps, not because they're magic tricks, but because they bypass the overthinking mind and go straight to the source, your energetic field. This isn't performance, it's remembrance. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to the signal underneath the static. And if you repeat this ritual, gently, daily, something begins to shift, not all at once, but subtly, steadily. You start to respond differently. You start to feel safer in stillness. You stop mistaking triggers for truth. You begin to recognize the veil as it's forming, and that's when you know the process has begun. Now breathe, gently, fully. Let the veil soften. In the next chapter, we'll uncover a deeper truth. Why this kind of inner work is rarely talked about in spiritual circles. Why most teachings avoid it, and what happens when you no longer need external systems to validate your inner knowing. We're about to break a pattern that's been silently shaping the spiritual world for generations. Why most teachings avoid talking about the inner veil. If the veil is so central, so real, so foundational to awakening, why don't more teachings talk about it? Why is it so rarely mentioned in the popular spiritual world? The truth is simple and uncomfortable, because once you see the veil, you no longer need a system to tell you who you are. You stop chasing, you stop performing, you stop needing to belong to something outside of yourself. And for many spiritual structures, that's inconvenient. The veil, once exposed, creates independence, not rebellion, but sovereignty. And independence doesn't sell well in a world built on dependence. You've probably noticed this pattern. You're taught how to meditate, but not why you still feel numb. You're given rituals, but not tools to question who you become when those rituals become habits. You're told to trust the process, but not to question who benefits from your obedience. That's the subtle design. Most spiritual systems, even unintentionally, recreate the same patterns of hierarchy, shame, and performance that people were trying to escape from in the first place. Instead of dissolving the veil, they paint over it with prettier colors. They give you new labels, empath, healer, starseed, but rarely ask if those identities are just more comfortable illusions. Let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with guidance, with teachers, with tools. But when the teaching becomes more important than your inner truth, the veil wins. Because now you're mistaking information for embodiment, performance for transformation, identity for essence, and that's the trap. You're told what awakening should look like, how it should feel, what it should produce. But awakening is not a performance. It's not a brand. It's not a curated experience for others to witness. It's raw. It's quiet. It's often invisible. It's the moment you choose silence over reaction, boundaries over pleasing, rest over proving. It's not always pretty, but it's real. And real doesn't need applause. Talking about the veil forces radical honesty, not just with others, but with yourself. It means asking, who am I when I'm not trying to be anything? Who am I when I stop explaining, fixing, convincing? Who am I when the veil falls? That's why most avoid it, not because they're hiding the truth, but because they're still afraid of what happens when there's nothing left to hide behind, but you're still here, which means you're ready. And now that we've seen the veil from every side, emotionally, biologically, spiritually, let's bring it all together. In the final moments of this journey, we'll return to the heart of this message. We'll anchor everything you felt. We'll expand into the truth that's been waiting under the noise all along. And you'll walk away, not with more answers, but with something far more valuable: clarity, stillness, sovereignty. You've made it this far, and that matters. You've walked through discomfort. You've stayed with the silence. Now stay with me for the final few minutes. There's something you already know, and we're going to let it rise. This isn't the end. It's the beginning that was always waiting. Removing the veil is not a one-time act. It's a slow remembering, a daily return to yourself underneath the noise, the roles, the stories. And the truth? What you've been seeking was never outside of you. It was always under the veil, not lost, just buried. You don't need to be more enlightened. You don't need another method to fix what was never broken. You just need to feel what your body already knows. And remember what your soul never forgot. Because your essence, the real you, is not something to be found. It's something to be felt. Your frequency, your presence, your quiet knowing, that's the medicine. And maybe now you feel it. Not loud, but steady. Not dramatic, but true. Maybe now you understand why nothing else worked the way you hoped it would. Because the veil didn't need more effort. It needed more honesty, more stillness, more permission to let go of what was never really you. So take a moment, breathe. Let this message settle, not in your mind, but in your nervous system. Feel the space that's opened up, even if just a little. And if something shifted for you today, if a veil began to lift, even slightly, let us know. Write in the comments what this journey stirred in you. Let us know you were here. And if you're still holding a word, a single word that encapsulates what you're feeling now, share it. Maybe it's truth. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's release. Whatever it is, that word is yours. Let it echo. Thank you for being here, for your energy, your openness, your presence. Thank you for walking this path, and not alone, but together. And if this message resonated with something ancient inside you, subscribe to this channel. Stay with us. This is just the beginning. Your journey is not linear, but it is sacred. Your frequency shapes your reality. You are not at the mercy of the world outside. You are the field that transforms everything it touches. If you're ready to go even deeper, to peel back another layer, to see another hidden pattern, the next video we recommend is already waiting for you. Watch it next. There's more to see, there's more to remember, and we'll be right here, walking with you.